Okay, so welcome back everyone. In this video, we are planning on learning about different operators in programming. The last videos I've talked about explained what variables were and what different type of data structures the variables could hold. And now we're going to use learn how to operate on those specific variables, because when you have some two different values, we can do a bunch of stuff with those. And today we are going to learn about how different how we can do stuff on the values. That's what it calls as operators. So for today, operators, or in this video, we're going to talk about operators. Right. Okay, so there are different types of operators that we know of. Firstly, the arithmetic. Secondly is can be thought of a comparator operator or comparison. And thirdly, it's just the logical operator. So these are the three types of operators we're going to look into today. So let's get started. Okay, so when we start look into the first part with the arithmetic, it is normally what we learned in math classes is that it's just plus, minus, multiplication, and division. And there is another a special type of operator, which is called the modulus operator, which is the percent sign, which is called the modulus operator. I'll get to it what it does. When I just revise this, it's just a plus. You add something to it, 2 plus 2 equals 4. This is just like subtracting operator. That's 2 minus 2 equals 0. There's a multiplicatory operator, which you multiply two numbers together, and a division operator when you divide two numbers. And you know how divisions work. So according to here, in programming, we have another operator called the modulus operator. What it does is that it actually gives you back the reminder. For example, if I give 10 modulus 3, the answer would be actually 1, because that's what it remains. Comparison operators. So this is the type of operators where we actually compare two values together. For example, 2 greater than 2 is greater than 1. So this is a kind of comparison, and normally what it returns, each operator returns something. When we discuss about the arithmetic operators, when we add two numbers, it returns a new number. So this actually returns to be true. So what the comparator operator returns is always a Boolean value. So Boolean means it's either true or false. So it's just true or false. And yeah, something it returns true. So if I write a 2 is less than 0, this is going to return as false. So this is what actually it means to have the comparator or comparison operators. There are other types of we normally use these symbols, so the greater than and the less than symbols. We also have the greater than or equals to, or less than or equals to, when we actually say that if it can be equal to 2 greater than or equals to 2, and 2 greater than 2, this will return to be true, and this will return to be false, because of just this part of the equals being in here. And we have other types of comparison operators, where we actually explicitly say that 5 is equals to 5. So why don't we use 1 equals, and what we use 2 here? I'll get to it when we in the next video, when we understand the control flow and the if else statement. Normally in the variables, you also saw that when we normally 1 equal sign means that we are defining, because we are putting the value of 5 into A. So that's why we're not actually saying these are equal. We're just putting the value inside a variable. But this is what we are checking. This will result to as true. Okay. And we also have another operator called the not equals to, I believe. Okay, you cannot see it. Another operator called not equals. This is just an exclamatory sign followed by an equals. This is like a not equals, like 7 not equals. This will return as true, because 7 is not equaling 3. And yeah, so it's just greater than, less than, greater than, equal to, less than, equal to, equals to, and not equals to. So these are just we are comparing two variables together, two values together. It can be numbers, it can be strings, anything, but we're comparing these two. One can be more than the other, or equals to another, something like that. So that's it for the comparison operator. So let's move on to logical ones. So we've got 3 different operators for the logical ones, which is the AND, the OR, and the NOT operators, which is very common when you are learn about circuit building, and maybe any type of logical calculation. You have to say you have to come across these 3 most basic logical operators. So mm, the and means that we are comparing like two different conditions together. For example, and both of the conditions have to be true. The way to actually do it, for example, like let's go with the example that I have in my notes, is that for example, age is equals greater than age has the value in the variable age has to be greater than 18, and the has id equals to true. So must be equals to true. So the and is actually checking if this one is true and this one is true. So and if both are true, then the entire thing returns to be true. So the logical operators of course also return some Boolean values only. Boolean, Boolean, yeah, Boolean values. So this is how like the and these both of the part has to be true for and to be true. So let's go a bit deeper on the and. We've got some tables so we can understand. So for the and table, it's pretty simple. The AND table is like when you have like two different inputs, like two different conditions that we have to make. So it can be like condition A and condition B. So if condition A is like, for example, true, and condition A is also true, the resulting output of the AND AND operator would be true. So if one is false, then AND is false. So it does not matter if the A or B is false. If one of them is false and the other one is true, the AND would return to be false. So if both of them are false, of course, AND will of course be false. So this is how the AND operator works. So moving on, like I hope it's the end is clear. So moving on to the OR operator, or logical operator. So OR is like more or less like we have got like again two conditions, and those two conditions, either of them can if either of them is true, the AND operator will return true. So for example, coming back to the um, example that we have earlier. So if we have OR here and we have got has ID equals true, so this would return true because um, uh, this one, or either this one, like either of the two conditions that we have, if one of them is true, it will return as true. If one of them is false and the other one is true, it will also return true. It just checks if one of the two conditions that is put together with if one is true or not. That's it. If both of them are false, then of course it will be considered like it will return false. So let's just write up the table real quick for OR. Is that we have got like condition A and condition B, and these are the four possible permutations of two system. So that's false, false, and the output would be here true and true and true, and this will be false. When both of the conditions are false, then none of the conditions are met for OR, so the OR returns false. And lastly, we have the not condition, which is like which does not actually need like two different conditions. Like not operator does not actually need two different conditions. It's just one condition. Whatever it like gets, it will just flip it. For example, if we have a condition, we know just we have one condition and that is true, and that the output of the not operator will be false, because it's just going to flip and say that it is not doing something. So if it is raining outside, for example, if the raining equals true because it's raining outside, so if we say that it's not raining, so even if it's raining, we will have to, in terms of the expression, it will be not raining, it will be just false. And these are all again conditions. So so again, if the condition here is becomes false, then the not operator will make it true. So that is like how the not operator's table is pretty simple, and the or operator and operator are also pretty simple. So normally, programming makes uses these operators like Lego blocks, and we form a bunch of and ors in certain sentences, and there is a whole bunch of study on Boolean algebra, which you can look through, but we will not actually be needing this. When you have some practice, you will understand. You don't have to learn a lot of Boolean algebra to understand this, but these are the main basic things that would be very much necessary for moving on in programming. So another thing that I wanted to discuss was expression versus statements in programming. So when we have an expression, we can say expressions being which produces a value. So expressions normally produces a value. For example, this specific thing will produce a value. Age being greater than 18 will produce a value. It will produce a Boolean value, but it will produce a value. When we multiply a variable, for example, by 2, this will produce a value. Statements, on the other hand, they will perform a specific action. For example, if we haven't gotten to if statements yet, but we will in the next video, is that this is an if statement, which is actually saying that if this specific condition is true, then we'll perform the scripts underneath the if block. There's an if block in the programming. I'll show you in the computer. But if that specific condition is true, then we will perform this condition. We have already seen the print statement, which actually performs a specific function in the programming. It actually prints hello back into the terminal. We have also seen how, like when we define a variable, this is also a statement when we are putting the value of 10 inside of the variable called x. This is also a statement because we're actually doing an action. We're not expecting return value just as an expression. So just a very basic thing about expression versus statements. So I don't think I have much more to show about in this specific section. In the next video, of course, we will see some coding examples of how these are actually performed using if statements. So we will understand conditionals and if statement in the next video. So I'll see you then.